a YouTube subscriber is potentially worth more than an Instagram follower. Okay, I'm going to get 100 views on my channel. If I put it onto GRM or Link Up or Mixtape Madness, it's going to reach more people now. Is that going to do me any good in the long run? YouTube is the only platform where you can have a direct impact on your revenue.
This is episode 006, and we're talking all about YouTube. Our guest today is Sanjay Kohli, who's worked with the likes of BMG Records, Warner Music, Ticketmaster, and he's the founder of his own company, Access All Areas Pass. He has so much knowledge to share in the next 35 minutes about YouTube Music as a platform, about monetization and revenue growth, and also how to grow a YouTube channel. I learned an incredible amount from this conversation, and I hope you do too. So gear up for the most strategic game plan you've ever heard about getting started on YouTube as an independent artist. So bro, as a YouTuber, I think I've grown up appreciating the value of consistent content. But for a lot of artists, they don't touch their channels until they drop a music video and then they disappear for another 6 months. Can you give me some insight into what the power of YouTube for a musician can truly be if they bake it into the heart of their strategy?
100%. I mean, it all comes down to one pinnacle piece of information. And I know there's a whole bunch of issues around payouts and the amount of money that artists are being paid by streaming platforms and all that sort of thing. You put that aside for a second. The key is YouTube is the only platform where you can have a direct impact on your revenue. You don't decide how much Spotify pays you. You don't decide how much Apple Music pays you. TikTok, there's probably a partner program there, but again, at the minute, not really existent. Instagram doesn't pay you unless you're doing sponsored posts. YouTube has an RPM rate, and that RPM rate is affected by your activity on the platform. It's the only platform that you can use to actually impact how much revenue you make. And that's the key. That's the key to it.
So you really look at the earning potential, not even the views and the vanity metrics.
No, 100%.
But purely revenue you're talking from the jump.
No, not from the jump, because as an independent artist, you're building from nothing, and the requirements to join the YouTube partner program are steep. But I think number one, it gives you, so yeah, I mean, that's addressing revenue, but that's one of the key things, right? That you can actually impact how much money you make from views. The other thing is the reach and the ecosystem of YouTube. It's 20 years old now. I would say it's probably the most firm stood in its position consumption platform. Is one of the biggest search engines in the world, if not the biggest after Google. And, you know, essentially, as cliche as it sounds, you have an unlimited ocean of potential eyeballs to hit. And I think the other thing that's even more impressive as of late is their recent activities is they're essentially creating an ecosystem where you can be discovered and then consumed by and then push people to subscribe to you. They have a whole ecosystem now. So you have YouTube Shorts, and that's where all the discovery takes place, right? It's kind of like TikTok. You're scrolling through and you discover something. Then you hit their channel and you realize, oh, they've got all this content. Then you hit their premium music video, and that's all on one ecosystem. That's all on one app. At the minute, you're promoting on TikTok. That's amazing. Good for you. People aren't streaming your music on TikTok. You know, not yet anyway. Not yet. I know TikTok are building towards that. And that's one of the reasons why YouTube as a company launched Shorts. You know, I understand that the concept of vertical content and, you know, the way people are consuming content and the, you know, retention rates are dropping every day by seconds. And so, yeah, but at the same time, it's a platform where you don't actually have to leave the platform to have someone go from someone not even knowing your music to then becoming a subscriber and actually paying for memberships and watching your stuff.
Bro, I absolutely love that breakdown. Thank you for explaining it in the marketing funnel way. That's how I think. Discovery at the top, then consideration in the middle, conversion at the bottom. Bless. Love that. I think it also speaks to the fact that social media, it has an algorithmic decay of an organic post. So you post it on a Monday, and within a couple of days, that post is no longer getting served new eyeballs.
Right.
But I think the beauty of YouTube is it lives forever. It's constantly a search engine, and stuff from years ago can suddenly pick up steam if it starts to rank or if it starts to get discovered, and anything kind of lives forever on YouTube. Definitely, would you agree with that?
And that's the beauty of catalog. That's what your catalog is. You look at Russ, right? American Russ. Like that's when he shows off his checks for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars every month. That's his catalog. That's not his new single. His new single probably brought in the least amount. You know, that's his catalog speaking. And so that is the beauty of it. And that also goes for short form content. Like we've seen shorts content from certain artists blow up like months after we posted it. You know, it's probably similar on TikTok, maybe Instagram Reels. I'm not too sure. That's not really my expertise, but it can happen. And that's the beauty of it. And, you know, your content is sat there. It's a monetized asset when you get to that level. And it's discoverable. And you know, it's essentially, YouTube is sort of the home. I see it as the home of content. I'm pretty a strong believer in the fact that a YouTube subscriber is potentially worth more than an Instagram follower. That's how
Okay. Unpack that for me.
I mean, again, it sort of goes back to, I think personally, on a personal level, for me to subscribe to a YouTube channel, I have to be really like impressed or, you know, have drawn some value from it. It's not necessarily a networking platform. Instagram is, you know, and again, like it goes back to the revenue aspect. Once you get to that certain point, subscribers are buying things off YouTube. They're paying you money. They're joining you as members. They're buying your merch. They're buying your tickets. I understand Instagram also has those you know, those features now. But again, I just feel like, yeah, to subscribe to someone on YouTube, I don't know, it feels a lot heavier, if that makes sense.
It definitely does. Yeah. I think you're much more of an advocate. You're much more loyal to a YouTube channel because, again, going back to algorithms, you don't see everyone you follow on the other platforms, Instagram and TikTok. But there's a whole subscriber tab on YouTube where you see everything date chronologically, like the good old days. And if you don't like what you see, you unfollow. And it's a very much like you have to stay consistently attractive in order to retain followers.
100%. Yeah.
Can you give me some? Sorry, unpack that if you want to. Yeah.
But the other thing is that, excuse my language, but the algorithm's fucked. So we don't know what's going on, right? So yeah, that's the other thing as well. Yeah.
I hear you. So can you give me some ideas for entry-level artists they can post beyond their music videos? So everything from BTS's to quick little covers. Like, what's that spectrum of content ideas you've seen from your experience?
Yeah, I mean, from the artists we worked with and what I've seen, I think certainly I know BTS's and teasers and visualizers and lyric videos and sort of, they're kind of the standard, really. I would kind of expect you during your rollout as an independent artist to include them. And again, it sounds cliche, and I actually had this, not debate, but I had this discussion with an artist that I worked with, talking about trying to portray a personality on social media and YouTube and that sort of thing. And I think it is key, but his argument was that, well, how can you really be genuine when it's social media? Like, it's just social media. It's not fucking real, you know? Like, it's just social media, which I totally understood and get. But also, I do feel like, you know, community over brand. Like, people are buying into you and they're buying into, you know, it's what they always say about having 50 loyal fans, over 5,000 people that will just passively listen, right? If they're going to buy a ticket and they're going to buy a hoodie and they're going to buy, you know, your physical CD or vinyl or whatever it is you decide to put out as an independent artist, that is way more valuable. And so, you know, leaning into your personality can actually prove extremely beneficial. And that is literally things like just filming your day-to-day life, or your day in the life vlogs, or, you know, it could be literally anything. If you, I don't know, you had an issue with your dog, I don't know, whatever it is, do you know what I mean? Like, it could be anything like that. Your favorite food's always a big one as well. Like, people love, you know, especially on social. So yeah, I think letting people see, you know, what you might not necessarily have thought to do, and not portraying this perfect image as a, you know, artist all the time.
I totally agree. I'd almost call it the Snapchat mindset, when you used to just film anything you do any single day. And I've always felt like YouTube long form is the bridge to lots of short form cut downs. So with YouTube Shorts, you could make a bunch of little individual stories that make sense for 20 seconds of your day, but that ladders up to the full day in the live vlog. And it doesn't have to be every single day. It doesn't have to be every single week. But when you interject the music videos with this kind of stuff, you get do you find that you get a spike in new followers, a spike in new views, and that overall triggers your account for good health in a way?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And it also leads into the consistency concept as well. You know, I've had artists, I've worked with an independent artist whereby he was spending a few £100 a month on Instagram ads for his freestyle videos. And it just got to a point where it wasn't really moving for us. I'm sure, you know, they do provide value, but in this scenario, it didn't. And so that few £100 a month he took, and he paid a videographer. He shot like 15 freestyle videos, put one out every Tuesday, and then his channel was, you know, generating a few £100 a month. And that's rent money, bro. Like that's deep for an independent artist to make, you know, hundreds of pounds off their channel from just doing freestyle videos. It's not a joke. Like, you know, it shows the potential, and that came with the consistency. So 100%.
This is fascinating. Okay, I really like this avenue we've gone down. So to tee up a question that I want to ask this in the interim. Do you think artists really judge themselves too harshly on the views they get, and they're more inclined to upload a video onto the likes of a Grime Daily and SBTV and a Link Up TV rather than build longevity on their own channel because they're worried about looking stupid with 300 views instead of 300,000?
1,000,000%. And the artists I just gave you the example of, we had that conversation multiple times. You know, you're paying these platforms, all credit to these platforms, they've broken artists, and, you know, they've done incredible things for the culture and the industry as a whole. It's not always beneficial. It is beneficial sometimes, 100%. I totally agree with that. Look at Blade Brown. Most of his catalog has been on, you know, one of those channels, maybe up until as of late. But so it can be extremely beneficial because they hold a huge footprint. So culturally, yeah, it can be, but it depends on what your long-term goal is. I think there's a balance. I think there's nuances to every single campaign and situation, and you just have to make that decision. But I think the important thing is to keep an open mind when you do it. Like, think of both ways. I'm going to get 100 views on my channel, but then it's on my channel. Yes. And when I do blow up, then, you know, there's the catalog and there's the Rust check. If I put it onto GRM or Link Up or Mixtape Madness, it's going to reach more people now. But is that going to do me any good in the long run?
Good. Yeah.
And it's that simple, you know. Yeah.
Fully locked in with that, because yes, if you put it on their channels, you get the views on their channels. And I know artists will think, but then they'll discover me and then they'll find out more. But then if they flock to your channel and it's dead, no activity in recent months, then they've got no incentive to go.
Yeah, and yeah, that's the thing. Sorry to interrupt, but I'm not an artist, right? But I feel, like I said to you earlier, I feel like community over brand, because now we're in such a time where there's so much stuff, and you can't, it's just an ocean, and it's just too flooded, it's too saturated, the market. And so even on these big channels, not just talking about these three, but a bunch of others, you know, in my role, we've worked with a huge amount of third-party channels across rap, across dance and electronic a lot of the time. And there's big corporations that have multiple channels, and you upload to them. And because you're competing so much about, you know, against all these other uploads, you're not even getting, you know, a huge amount of views that you might have a few years ago. And it's the same concept as if you sign to a label or not. Like, obviously I work for a label. I think they can be great. I think, you know, it can elevate your career to a certain extent. But what you have to realize is then when you sign, you're then competing with all their other artists for attention, and you know, so yeah, that's how it goes.
That's a really interesting point. I never thought of it that way. Multiple uploads a day on some of these channels, multiple priorities internally within a label. You're competing against other artists in your lane. I think the thing I was kind of alluding to was, is there such a thing as a cross-channel strategy? So you drop a video on Link Up, and then on your channel, you show the BTS of the music video, how it was filmed. so that when people discover you, you've got a hook for them to stay and find out more inside your funnel.
Absolutely, man. You're spot on. And we've done that in the past as well. We've hosted it on one place, and then we've had the BTS or the lyric video or the visualizer on our channel. And it's also the same for when we've done collabs as well. We've had it uploaded to both artist channels. We've had it on one channel and then the other one's done the BTS, or there is that opportunity for cross pollination as well. But that's then where the knowledge, like the granular knowledge of like tagging and all these links and all this stuff that you can do within YouTube and using all their tools to make sure you are capitalizing on that cross pollination.
I'm going to ask about all of that. I have so many questions for you, trust me. I want to really go macro and talk about like YouTube music as well as the auto-posted audio version of a song via your distributor like DistroKid when it creates on like a Vivo or on a topic-based channel.
Yeah.
What's your perspective on the benefits of that, and how do you best navigate a strategy to include or not include both of those?
Well, first of all, I'm impressed that you know that, because most people don't know about topic channels, so that's great.
Yep.
I'm not surprised. I'm just impressed.
Bless, thank you.
But yeah. So what happens is, so as an independent artist, when you distribute through Ditto or DistroKid or CD Baby or whoever it is, your music gets sent out to Spotify, Apple, blah blah blah. It also gets sent to YouTube. And what YouTube do is create an auto-generated upload of this, and that sits on youtube.com, but it also sits on YouTube Music. YouTube Music is built on top of youtube.com.
Okay.
So when you stream a track on YouTube Music, if it has an official video, you can toggle between the two, and then that view count will be added onto your video on youtube.com. So that's how it works. The auto-generated thing is basically purely for distribution. And what you're better off doing as an independent artist, or any artist really, is making sure you have a manual upload. So creating your own visualizer or your own pack shot, or if you have an official video, then releasing that. That will replace the auto-generated. If you are monetizing it, or monetize at a higher rate. It's easier to, the SEO of it is much higher performing. You'll find it easier. It will be discovered easier. And so there's a bunch of benefits to doing that. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I didn't know it got replaced. That's fascinating. I actually thought they compete against each other with split views. But you're saying when you manually upload it, it takes the other one away from existence?
No, it still exists, but it replaces it in like playlists and when you search for it and that sort of thing. It will always exist because it's a distributed asset. Okay. But yes, it performs a lot worse than a manual upload. Yeah. So for any independent artist, make sure you're uploading every release manually.
That's big tip. Big tip for sure.
Yeah.
What are the advantages of YouTube Music for the everyday artist who's not got a subscription for the ads-free version of YouTube? How does it help them as the artist, and how does it help the consumer for a musician to get savvy about YouTube Music?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's another platform. It's a growing platform. It's by far not the biggest at all consumption-wise, especially in this market. That said, YouTube Music as a platform that's trying to engage more with the community, they have various different marketing like activations and packages for, more and more so for independent artists as well. Obviously of a certain level or stature, but it's available and they're pushing it harder and harder. They have the Black Voices Fund every year. They have a few other sort of incubator marketing activations where they host a bunch of different artists every year. So on a commercial sort of promotional level, there's that. But like I said, it's built on top of YouTube. So their goal is to create this, which they're already doing, is create this ecosystem, as I mentioned before, whereby you can be discovered, considered, and consumed all in one platform. And that's the main benefit, I would say, of it.
I see that vision heavily. Yeah, the way you're painting that picture Yeah, I can tell you're cozy with the YouTube platform.
Yeah.
Really, let's just pull it back. Do you think until an artist reaches a certain threshold where they're eligible for all these partnerships, like it's an uphill battle until they get there? And what are some of the eligibility criteria? I don't expect you to know it verbatim, but I wouldn't be surprised if you did. What are some of the eligibility criteria to be able to get into the partner program?
Yeah, I mean, for the additional marketing promotion, there's a big list of criteria, so we can't go through that. But what we can go through is the basic YouTube partner program, and that is a channel needs to have 4,000 watch hours in the last year and 1,000 subscribers, and that's not easy. Paid views don't count, so it's not easy. It's actually very difficult to do that, especially when you're starting from zero and you don't have a fan base like that, or you're trying to build. But I would say that there's potential, but I would also say it's the same on all platforms. Like it's exactly the same thing. Like we treat YouTube, yes, it's a streaming platform and it's a consumption platform, but it's also a social media platform, and you're literally building from scratch. Like you can use every type of form. That was the other thing I forgot to mention as well, that YouTube hosts every type of every format of content. It hosts video, it hosts images, it hosts polls, it hosts short video, it hosts everything. And that's the other key thing of it, is that you treat it as another social media platform, and then eventually you'll get to where you're trying to get to.
I think the community tab is just so underutilized by most artists.
Right.
It's the Facebook status of YouTube, isn't it?
100%. And there's even within that, there's certain things you can be doing to get more engagement, but they'll have to book me for a consultation if they want that.
I personally like to, when I'm on game, I'm not always on game, but when I am, I make a 7-day calendar of what I intend to post on the community tab. And one day it's, because everything has to be a square aspect ratio. That's my one downer about it.
Yeah.
But I have, a teaser artwork, then I have a poll, then I have a text only, and I have a freeze frame of the video. And you say just have different community posts to ladder up until release day. And then it's subconsciously baked into people's minds. Something's cooking. It's coming. He's been hitting Thursday, 6 o'clock, for example. They're more likely to turn up.
100%. And when you've done that, what have you noticed has performed best? What sort of format?
Definitely the still of the video. So if I maybe take a freeze frame of myself and you having a conversation and put that 5 days before launch and saying a YouTube expert unveiled his top tips for marketing their music, that kind of post, like less about like you as a human, but more about your job title. That kind of thing gets traction.
And it's about value, right? Like the same with me. I've noticed a post that I do or have done, when you're giving value, there's more engagement. And
absolutely, that's a key trend. Yeah. Give me some of like your top tips for like optimizing a video. So I'm like in the actual process, in the settings menu, like before it's gone live for the first time. What are some of the best tips that work and some of the things that used to work but no longer do? I have my own opinions, but I'd love your take, please.
Yeah, I mean, so I can't go through all of them because it's like I have a list and it's about 50 items long. So yeah, but the standout thing is that making sure your SEO is on point. So whatever your title is, making sure it's matching tags and description and that sort of thing. The other key thing that I'm also learning more about is thumbnails. I'm sure you're well versed in this, but yeah, bright, big thumbnails, clear, provoking, whatever it is, just make sure that it's clear. And it makes a huge impact on the CTR, the click-through rate. I've really seen that. We've experimented with different videos and we've tried different thumbnails, and we see the difference in the engagement when it is a bright, big, colorful face or engaging. So that's another thing as well. Yeah, I think also maybe it sounds funny, it sounds silly, but misspelling. So if you're popular enough, you'll find that a lot of artist traffic from a lot of channels is coming from people mistyping the name. It sounds stupid, but it's actually a big driver. So if you're making sure you're capitalizing on that in the tagging and that sort of thing, it's an additional tens of thousands of views. And then just cross promoting, your videos across within your channel, and if you can, other channels as well, making sure you're pointing to your new releases across all your catalog and that sort of thing.
I respect that. It means I'm doing everything right, which is a good thing. There's nothing that was missing off your list. Here on this channel, I actually design the thumbnail and the title before I even do the video.
Amazing.
So in my mind, I know that I wanted the last interview, Andrew Southworth, I wanted him holding up a 0 in his hands.
Sick.
Because the thumbnail was 0 to 500,000 streams in 6 months.
Yeah, that's smart. That's great. That's great. And I think that's the thing, like what you've basically done is you've conceptualized how you want to portray it before you've even physically have the matter to do it. And I think, that's always, that always seems to drive good engagement. So.
Thank you. Do you ever have a battle maybe with like videographers, cinematographers, artist managers who want the thumbnail to be in a really like aesthetic sort of way, but that's actually contrary to what performance on YouTube might say? Is there ever a butting of heads?
100%. I mean, it happened today. Like there was we wanted to get a certain thumbnail, but then you just pick your battles, right? When you're working. But I mean, 100%. Like a lot of artists have a sort of creative vision and direction, and obviously you have to respect that. They're the artist. At the end of the day, the buck stops with them. And it's up to them. All we can do is offer support and experience and knowledge as to what actually might work best. But yeah, it has happened. And it does make a difference.
I can foresee it. I think I've had my own fair share of that, which, you tell people what the thumbnail needs to be and they just want the pack shot. And the pack shot's not always the most engaging thing. Sometimes it's that dynamic pose pointing with eye contact to the camera lens rather than shades over the top of it.
100%.
Things make a huge difference.
100%. And also, I know we're talking about YouTube, but look at, Spotify have launched clips now. And that takes this conversation into a whole new, universe in a sense, because we're then talking about, instead of static thumbnails, we're talking about moving visuals.
Yep.
And then it becomes, so the new thumbnail is a short vertical that we need to make sure looks good so people will click on it on Spotify. Yeah, it's a whole nother conversation that needs to be had, So.
Oh, facts, for real.
Yeah.
And where do you think the future of YouTube Shorts is going? Like for a lot of my clients, I am suggesting a duplication-based strategy where whatever they'd be posting on TikTok, I'm saying also put it on YouTube Shorts. If it blows, it blows. If it flops, it flops. I think I want to get into the test and learn mindset, but right now I know there's a huge market potential and the reach can be astronomical. But where do you see YouTube Shorts right now for a musician?
Yeah, I think there's 2 points I'll say to that. The first thing is very, very, if it's a full-time job, it's very difficult to be posting original content on every single platform. And so from a lean management perspective, like you just duplicating, making sure the TikTok logo is not on there, but making sure you're duplicating across Reels, TikTok, and Shorts. It makes sense. And to be quite frankly, it is similar content that is on YouTube Shorts to TikTok, what we're seeing. I think the differing point is what I alluded to earlier, which is your music video also sits on YouTube. And, there is an ecosystem, they're building an ecosystem there, which is about converting. So I don't know if you know this, but if you go onto a YouTube sounds, on TikTok, you have sound pages. So let's say, I don't know, Central C releases sound on TikTok. You click the sound and then you get all the videos that used it, right?
Oh, wow.
So they have the same thing on YouTube Shorts. But the difference is when you click the sound on YouTube Shorts, the music video is at the top.
Pinned. Like it's pinned. Yeah.
So there's an ecosystem there. And so if you have the opportunity where you can identify where it's effective for you to create content that is specific to YouTube Shorts, that will aid that conversion funnel that we're talking about, then that's what you should be doing as opposed to just duplicating it from TikTok.
That's fire. So I did know obviously TikTok has the sound page, but I didn't know that YouTube pins the music video to the top.
It's a new thing. It's a new thing.
Yeah. I think again, just like we've been saying, YouTube is just so underutilized for musicians, and I almost want people to, like we said, think short form content, and that's great. And when artists upload a music video, they just slice a 30-second vertical out of it. And what I am hoping to encourage my clients to do and my community to do is make these shorts tell fractions of a larger story. So the narrative builds up with intensity, and then at each clip, you get a cliffhanger that doesn't tell you the final piece of the puzzle. And so you're driven to the music video to find out more.
Yeah.
Are any artists you know working in that sort of way, or are they still just slicing 30 seconds out?
It's difficult. It's difficult because, you know, from a label's perspective, we're serving a huge amount of clients at one time. And the resources are finite, so it can be difficult. But there have been times where, yes, we've utilized shorts exclusive content, whereby we're like you said, we're providing some sort of cliffhanger or teaser as to what's actually coming. It's also worth knowing that for some of the programs that would be suitable for some of the independent artists, they actually require you to have exclusive short content now, as opposed to replicating from TikTok, which is a huge thing. You know, it's a huge demand, and so obviously that's not available for everyone. But the artists of a certain stature that are independent and are eligible, that's now become one of the asks from YouTube, and I foresee that potentially also being an ask from other platforms. But that's when it gets really tricky, because there's no way in hell that you know, an artist would be able to sustain that amount of exclusive content. So, you know, it's an interesting time.
I think the world is moving in that direction where, you know, all the streaming platforms want a hook that's unique to them. I think we saw the phase of albums being released exclusively on Tidal. Then we saw the phase of, you know, the documentaries being exclusive to Apple, and radio shows exclusive to Apple. What do you think YouTube might do just to set themselves aside from other platform competitors for musicians, or even the new podcast feature that has recently launched?
To be honest with you, I don't think they need to. I think, like I said, I feel like they're solidified in their position, in a sense that they were probably the first of all the streaming platforms, quote unquote, and, you know, they are the home of content in a way. Lots of both long form and short form. I know TikTok is the short form, but YouTube hosts it. You know, I don't go to TikTok to watch music videos. And so not yet anyway. That might be the next thing, you know? But yeah, so I mean, I don't foresee them doing anything like that. I just foresee them expanding their product format offering. So like you said, the podcast feature, you know, obviously vertical now, Facebook posting content with the community, shorts, long form. Yeah, I think they're just going to expand their sort of offering, and I mean that's how I foresee it.
I love that, bro. Thank you so much. Now, I have seen such a strategic side to you, such a calculated analytical side to you. Really, just one thing I want to ask, a personal tip, is, has YouTube SEO decreased its importance over time? I know at one point I could put in the right keywords, measure with TubeBuddy, be the top ranking video for a certain keyword, and job done. Has that lessened its impact, or you still heavily focused around keyword density and the SEO of a video? Is it 50% importance, 80% importance? What would you give it like a weighting nowadays?
No, it is still important. It probably isn't as important as it was, just because there's so much content and it's so saturated. And with the artists we deal with, as soon as we upload something, there's a bunch of UGC content straight after, right? So that's where it does become important. But what I would say is that it depends on the level of your campaign. I think, you know, if you're a massive A-list artist and you're trying to compete with your own content or a bunch of user-generated content, then it does become important, because there's only a certain amount of keyword searches that happen. Whereas if you're independent and no one's really searching for your name anyway, it's probably not as important. But yeah, I would say it's definitely less so than it was. So maybe if you want a percentage, I don't know, maybe 30 to 40%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair with that.
I put it at that. But without it, you're not doing everything you can be doing. So
I've always used the phrase that the input matters more than the output. So trying to fix things like SEO, like the thumbnail, like the title, it's all well and good, but the content has to bang. The content doesn't bang, you can't measure all these output variables. I think the message, the value matters most to me.
100%, but that's where you need to find your community, because your content can bang to you, but it might not bang to
fair point. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Bro, I've learned so much. Thank you ever so much for coming on the pod. I appreciate you. Where can people find out more about you, about your company, access all areas? Like, feel free to tell my community where they can get in touch with you.
Oh, for sure, man. So yeah, my Instagram is just my name, Sanjay Kohli. I'm on there most of the time. I connect with a lot of people there. I've also got a AAA Pass on Instagram as well, which is kind of like my content company where I'm just sort of working with artists and putting out a bunch of content that we have. So you can hit me on there as well, and I'll send over all the links to include. But yeah, inbox is open, always connecting.
Thank you, man. And some amazing interviews. I love watching your interviews. So don't ever get that. Thank you again, my bro. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.